We know that in ancient times, after the death of an emperor, there was an extremely cruel practice of live burial, where living people were buried alongside the deceased emperor. So, what if the concubines chosen for burial were unwilling to die? In reality, once a concubine was selected for burial, there was no way out, whether willing or not. She had to die. One document vividly described the horrifying scene of Emperor Yongle of the Ming Dynasty's concubines being arranged for burial by his successor, Emperor Hongxi. It is recorded that on the day the concubines were to die, their wailing shook the palace halls. According to the document, on the day of the burial, the concubines were first given their final meal. Imagine being faced with imminent death, no matter how sumptuous the feast. How could they have any appetite? They wept bitterly, but their tears were in vain. After the meal, they were taken to a palace where ropes for hanging and small stools to stand on were already prepared. Whether they agreed or not, the concubines were collectively forced to hang themselves. According to later historians, after Zhu Di's death, between 10 and 30 women were buried with him. The scene of so many people being hanged together in the same room must have been terrifying. Before the concubines were hanged, Emperor Hongxi personally came to bid them farewell. Among those hanged were at least 2 Korean women, one surnamed Han and the other surnamed Choi. The Han woman pleaded desperately with the emperor, saying that she had an elderly mother at home with no one to care for her, and begged for mercy to spare her life. However, by then, the new emperor remained silent. The Han woman did not want to die, but as she wailed to her wet nurse, the eunuch in charge of the hanging kicked away the stool beneath her feet. Both the Han and Choi women died in this manner. Historical records also mention that Emperor Xuan of the Ming Dynasty had a concubine named Guai, who had only entered the palace for 20 days when the emperor died. Unfortunately, she was included in the burial list. Before she could enjoy any of the luxuries of palace life, her life was cut short. In her final moments, she wrote a poignant farewell poem, which reflects the sentiments of many concubines who were forced into burial. The poem roughly conveys that the length of life is not determined by oneself but by fate, and it is not worth dwelling on. Life is like a dream, and death is the awakening. She lamented that she would die before her parents, feeling ashamed for failing to fulfill her filial duties. Overwhelmed with grief and despair, she wrote these words as a final memorial. As she finished writing, she threw down her brush and cried out, "Mother, I am leaving. Mother, I am leaving." Before her words faded, the eunuch kicked away the stool beneath her feet, and her spirit vanished, forever separated from her parents. This practice of live burial was truly brutal and inhumane. Please follow me to learn more about stories of ancient China.